it's fun to go through there. I wanted to point out the Coast Guard here. As you may know, Iceland does not have a military. There used to be a US Navy base here until 2006 when it closed down. But Iceland, although it was occupied by the British and the Americans during the Second World War, we have never been directly involved in military confrontation between countries. So the closest thing we have to an army is the Coast Guard, and the closest thing to warfare are the so-called cod wars, which was a series of fishing disputes with several European countries, mostly the British, because for a big part of the 20th century, Iceland was gradually expanding its fishing limits. First to 1 nautical miles, to 4, to 12, to 15, to 200. Sometimes we did so in accordance to international law. Sometimes we were slightly ahead of the time. And this upset the British because they had come here for centuries and thought that they had historical rights for the fish up here. So the Coastal Guard used a secret weapon called the scissors. And they were just that. They would go and use this equipment to cut the cables of the trawlers, which meant that the British, they had to gather their trawlers on a small patch of sea, and then they would send in the Navy to keep the Coast Guard at bay. And this meant some minor clashes, with ships sailing into each other, but in reality this was solved at the negotiating table. But Icelanders, they like to brag that we are the only nation in the world who has defeated the British army in war. That's the usual to have.